Hello everyone and welcome back to the final week of the Welsh Esports League. We're on season 9, but right now it's me, Jammer, and I'm joined today by Muhcreedy. How are you doing, Muhcreedy?
I'm doing good, man. It's the end of season 9. This is the last play day we've got. I'm really excited to see how things are going to shape up. CS2, we've had Valorant, we've had Siege. Now we are at the very end of everything. CS2, we've got two teams that have worked their way through the playoffs, through the group stages, and they are going to be battling it out for that top spot. And there's all important club series points to get club of the season, because that is also on the line here. So let's take a little look at the bracket, see where we're going, because we have got the SEA Dragons going up against the Wolfhounds at the moment. Both of them going 2-0 to find their way to this grand final. Very dominant, very convincing, but maybe that 2-0 doesn't tell everything. It might have been closer games, you never know, and how these teams are going to match up against each other. Jammer, you've been watching them. I want to know your thoughts on how this is going to go.
Yeah, unfortunately I missed last week, but from what I have seen throughout the season, it definitely seems like the SEA Dragons have kept their momentum from the last few seasons, and they are ready to rumble. On the Wolfhound side of things, I did try to catch the stream, and from what it looked like, the Goats were able to put up somewhat of a fight, but the Wolfhounds definitely look like the better team, and so I am hoping that this is going to be a closer final. But again, I am going to preface this and say, you know, if we are going to call a favourite in this, I think it would have to lean in the direction of the SEA Dragons, but I guess it's all to play for, and it really depends on how the players show up in the server, right?
Well, yeah, because you could be having a bad day, the other team might just be having a good day, so we'll only have one way of finding out exactly what's going to happen, and that's by watching it. The next question I'm going to bring is, where are we going to watch it? So, Train and Ancient are the first two maps to get banned out, which means we are going to find ourselves on Nuke and Mirage. Inferno Overpass is then joined, so we find ourselves heading to Dust 2 for the decider, going back to the bread and butter of CS2, really, going back to that Dust 2 map just to end it all out, because I want to be, let's be honest, if you get to that point where you've been to your map pick, you've been where you're comfortable, you just want to go to kind of a default map, everyone knows what they're doing, you want to say, right, okay, the strats haven't worked because we've lost a map, let's just do what we do good, let's do the basics right, and I think Dust 2's the map for that, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's a map where your aim shows. It's not as heavily reliant on strategies, although that is coming more into play these days with the cat and CT play. But I think starting on Nuke, you know, this is a map that we've seen a lot throughout this season. It's a bit of a surprise, a welcome surprise for me, because I really like it. You know, it's very dependent on team play, hitting your shots, and controlling like certain areas of the map. Like if you're losing outside, how are you rotating around, and that big question mark of the CT rotations is really where you win and lose it. So love to see, you know, some strategical depth coming through and seeing how the teams are able to challenge each other. It is a little bit of a case where if the SEA Dragons are going to be as confident as they have been for the entire multiple seasons at this point, it's going to be tough for the Wolfhounds to come into this. But if you're getting your utility on point, if you pick up the pistol, which is even more important than it has been in previous iterations of the game, then you can definitely swing it back towards your favour. I think as well, like the map sides are going to matter a lot in this game, especially on Nuke, you know, for example, which is probably one of the more CT-sided maps in the pool right now.
And that's the thing as well, because what we're going to see is we are going to see the SEA Dragons, they're going to have to find themselves on that T side on the start. So they're going to need to get that momentum, they're going to need to get out of the gate, hit it strong, and get in there and do what they do best from the very start. Because if they let that advantage go in the favour of the Wolfhounds who have that CT side, then they can really start to struggle to pick up rounds, and then they might not have as much to work with when they get onto the CT side. But Jammer, we are going to be starting with our knife round, find out how things are going to go, and if I just go through that, I don't think that's actually going to impact who's going to be starting the side. Yeah, there we go, because I'm actually not sure, because I know we have the knife. We had the knife fight there, but it's been decided, hasn't it? Yeah.
In a best of 3, of course, the team that picks the map for the first 2 maps, the other team will get to choose their side first. So presumably this is the SEA Dragons pick, and then the Wolfhounds have picked that CT side. So just getting through the formalities of the knife round, and we're into the game. A lot of utility being brought up on both sides, notably 2 Molotovs, but no kits on the CT side. So we'll have to see how that transpires. And the SEA Dragons, they're going straight for a lobby push, and there's going to be a battle in the hut. It's awkward, but MA is able to retreat with their life. Rotation's coming through, but the movement's good to distract, and there's a couple of entries on the site.
Yeah, and the KD is being protected there. The dualies just not doing what they needed to. The plank going down with all terrorist players all still alive at the moment. It's down to Young Travi and Cold Waffles. They have that opportunity to try and stop it, but with Pink swinging with a Glock from HUD, that is going to be the round going in favour of the T side. Very aggressive, strong start. They overpower that first player who wasn't able to get a refrag, and while that player was able to buy some time for the retake to try and position themselves in a good spot for it, the Wolfhounds just didn't really feel like they had much answer to it. They didn't feel like they were nearby. They didn't feel like they were ready for a push at that speed just to start things off, and that is the pistol round going in favour of the SC Dragons. They can buy the utility, they can buy an AK or two. They have got potential to get the next couple of rounds very easily.
Yeah, it's going to be a straight top push. Very smart play. You can use the close range advantage of the SMGs, use utility to cut off the sight, and Wolfhounds just have no standing in this one, but they're going to be going for some jammy plays, pushing through the smoke. It's a bit awkward, but the SCA Dragons will not be caught with their pants down. And there's just 2 players left. Just, quickly going back to the pistol round whilst this one closes out. I think getting so much utility can lull you into a full sense of security if you're the Wolfhounds. You've got those Molotovs down, but they're not solid walls. The SCA Dragons can still catch you off guard. So Wolfhounds bit caught on the back foot for the first 2 rounds of play, but now we finally get the rifles out, and we'll see if the Wolfhounds can come back into things, especially against these Mac 10s.
Yeah, strong momentum for the SCA Dragons. I like that they've kept that aggression from that first round. It's also got that kind of mental state of, yeah, they've got the weapons, they've got the close range weapons, they need to get fast, they need to be close. So now this is where, like you say, it's going to get exciting, because you can see Wolfhounds have the money, they can go for the weapons, they can actually get some rifles on the board, even seeing a couple of shotguns as well, so maybe expecting another close range engagement, which I think the SCA Dragons might be looking for as well. Util going out again, the nades trying to get rid of that smoke so that they can see those players over towards HUT, they can see the players trying to go for this push. And now as utility does follow, the Molotov start to go down. The Mac 10s are trying to get the shots. It's Joey to find the first one. MA has 2 answers, but up before Joey has to trade to even things out. The retake from Heaven from Moshi gets the kill, refragged out, and now it's a 2 versus 1. And Pink's able to find one, will get Cold Waffles, which means Young Travi has to rotate. The Mac 10 can do a lot of work, but the first shot didn't go in favour, and the Wolfhounds are able to get their first CT side.
Yeah, super crucial double kill from MA towards main there. That completely took the wind out of the sails of that push, and SCA Dragons, they just get a bit caught off guard. They're not expecting the aggressions from the rotations from the Wolfhounds, and they're just so hot on the heels of that rotation coming into the site. Really well played from them overall.
Yeah, I really like how in that round they've realised they're probably going to go for that same aggressive push again. They're probably going to keep that money in the pocket, and they're going to go in this. They chose those shotguns, they chose those weapons intentionally because they wanted to counter that. And now you can see SCA Dragons, they've lost a fair bit of money. They're not out of the woods just yet, but now they're changing things up. They are going to be getting a lot more pressure over towards that outside. Shift is going to find that first contact, isn't going to be able to land a shot onto Rizzy, but MA is there to try and help. He is the drop and can at least give the call to the team, but Jesse and Rizzy each going to get a kill of their own. Again, a 2 versus 5 situation. But Young Travi's able to find the head through the smoke, will get traded out very quickly. And now MA sat over towards this A. Isn't going to be able to stop the B plant. As they find Jesse, they're going to have to rotate around. They know that player's outside. They know they're going to have to take this gunfight. They're able to do it with Xerix getting taken off the board as well. And now a 2 versus 1. This is very winnable, but very low HP for MA. They might just decide to save. They take the AK, and yeah, I think they're just going to wait there at the time. They need to keep that money. They got around on the board, but is it really going to be worth losing that AK?
Yeah, it was a valiant attempt in the end, and you could see the SCA Dragons completely flipped the script in this one. Attacking that top site, a little bit of conditioning maybe coming through. It's going to be interrupted. Joey's going for this hunt. MA trying to stay alive. 13 HP. Joey will round the corner, but will they connect? Aww. They will. So even the save attempt is not going to come through. Unfortunate for the Wolfhounds. They won't be able to buy fully into this one. Or if they do, it won't be a full rifle utility setup. But yeah, SCA Dragons flipping the script. They go for that outside play, and they're not afraid to take those fights. They've got some smokes up, but really just standing on their own feet, just willing to take those long-range engagements, and they come out on top because there's so much chaos.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. And I noticed they're still going for that close range weapons. They haven't really decided to go for the Scout or the Orb to get that pressure outside. They are just deciding they can take the AKs, if they get close, they can win the fights. And with it being an eco round for the Young Wolfhounds, you're going to expect Rizzy and Jesse to pick up those kills like they have, and you're expecting the Wolfhounds to really not have much to contribute to this round aside from just getting it over. That is the case, but MA does have an answer with the head of Jesse. Will be traded out very quickly, but at least they took away a Jesse in that, and they did a little bit of a dent to the economy. They still have to buy the weapons and the gear. It's not going to be a problem, but it's a little bit of money that they don't have for a possible round loss. They can keep that in their pocket. Jesse, still with the pistol for now, will have to pick up something.
Or not, you know, they could rock with the pistol, who knows? It's going to be a dropped rifle in the end. But yeah, Wolfhound's back on the rifles, and we saw them have success when they last had rifles in their hands, but the SEA Dragons, they're such a formidable force sometimes, and they're mixing it up again, harassing this ramp side. Smoke goes down, it's going to be a lot of pressure on young Travi, and they get caught lacking, a lot of space taken over now, and the SEA Dragons have free reign of this lower site.
Yeah, but that player is heading over towards Singly and dropping through vents. They might have a bit of contest very soon. They've left that player, I think, all the way towards that ramp side to keep them covered, but it's going to be the front that's going to be stabbing them, not the back, as Rizzy gets taken down. Pick Joey each have an answer. Zerik's finding one to add to the count as well. As the utility goes out, the plant is already down. They know that MA has to make something happen. They bought the rifles. They nearly had a round to get on the board, but SEA Dragons, the aggression was there. They took the early side control. It feels like they just don't want to stop. They've got their fingers on that W key, and that's just not changing.
Yeah, it's where they do their best work, really. And Cold Waffles not having any of it, not at the start that maybe they'd won, and now it's going to encourage a buy from the rest of the Wolfhounds. This will be a mishmash buy, and it might be enough to catch the SEA Dragons off. You know, they should be expecting a low buy here, but
yeah,
two snipers up. There's definitely opportunities to be had.
Yeah, but very high risk, high reward. If they're not able to win this out, then they can start really losing things, and that's the rifles gone. That's also the economy, the Orb, we both know, very expensive weapon. And while young Travi does get a kill with a FAMAS, MA will be taken away as well. Young Travi up towards heaven will get a lot of utility thrown at them. They know where he is. Why are they going to peek it unless they absolutely have to? Young Travi getting taken down at heaven. Now Moshi with that MP7 is going to blow up that vent. Will get taken down. Another round for the SEA Dragons, who've definitely found their groove. And I think the Wolfhounds, that an interesting play. They still have that loss bonus, but that's a big hit to lose that orb very, very early on and not get anything from it.
Yeah, I don't even know if the SEA Dragons were aware the orb was up. It might not have even rang a shot off. So no. Wolfhounds continue to stumble. They're going to buy up again, so you know, you mentioned that full loss bonus. They'll be able to buy up for a couple more rounds here, but really they need to get some damage down so the SEA Dragons aren't just swelling with their money right now.
The thing is, for me, SEA Dragons are just getting in close and not letting them have these gunfights. They're not letting them have this confidence. And Shift and MA going for a little change in pace here as Rizzy finds young Travi. They're going to suddenly have to rethink how they play this. Maybe back up. Mushy's going to get taken down. MA to follow. And as Shift goes to kill, suddenly a horrible spot to be in will be picked off as well. And Cold Waffles will flank Pink. But 3 kills on the board. And that round's pretty much already over. Jesse just has to clean it up. And another round for SEA Dragons. But Cold Waffles making a good amount of money there.
Yeah, nice kill with the shotgun. And I like the attempt from Wolfhounds. You know, they decide that they're going to dictate the pace. They're going to go for the aggressions. But it was just a little bit lackluster in the execution. You know, you had individuals swinging, people trapped in corners together. No real utility behind it. So I like the method, but there was a bit of madness thrown in.
Oh, I like that. We are going to see that orb coming out again, and it might be what Cold Waffles was really wanting. Hopefully they get a little bit more use out of it this time. You can see the full buy is coming out from Wolfhounds, but they're letting the utility just pass by a little bit. Zerix will walk over the hut, find the kill onto Shift, and Cold Waffles not going to do anything. In fact, going to miss that player entirely. But that orb is there for a possible retake if needed. Young Travi gets traded out after finding Rizzy, which means that this site has opened up a possible plan, but they don't know about this orb over the Wolf's hut. They will spot the player, maybe a little bit of friendly fire, but it's going to be Zerix taken down and punished for it. The orb call has been given. MA going up the vents will have to go up alone. The smoke comes out and it blocks off Cold Waffles. The plant will go down, the money goes in the favor of the SEA Dragons, and now a retake is needed. Unless they do decide to go for the save. We saw how it went before. They look for one shot but can't make it land. And that's another round that they are not going to win, and another AWP that isn't going to really dictate how this game goes and stop the flow of the Dragons.
Man, the Dragons are just putting on a masterclass right now. They're mixing things up really well. Their executes are really well, and they're just playing with so much confidence. And I've talked about how much confidence the Dragons play with, but it's just so illustrative. If you watch them play, they just exude it in bucketfuls. And, you know, when you're playing with confidence, you can make a bad strat work really well.
Yeah. Well, they know what they're doing. They know what they want to achieve. They know how to do it. And they're not taking no for an answer. A lot of utility. Maybe the Wolfhound's reading into it, saying, we don't want you pushing through this here. And as a play will fall on each side. Looks like that push is going to come towards the A side. Zyrix will be able to apply the pressure to heaven, but it's going to be Joey finding Moshi. As MA gets that refrag, will back up with the MP7 going up against the AK. It feels like the constant story. They've got it. Zyrix able to find through the wall, not one but two players. And now young Travi all alone is going to have to walk up. They will find themselves going up against Zyrix first. They're able to win that gunfight, but the position is given away. With HP tagged, the plant down, and not much utility to go for this retake. Is it even worth it, Travi?
The big question for me is the kit. You know, they have to make this long rotation all the way around to throw the scent off, and Rizzy's hunting for it either way, so not going to be able to get the jump. Although, as I say that, Travi will pick up another kill, health low. It seems like they're just going to concede. It will be 9-1, and Pink is going for the hunt, and this is the confidence that I'm talking about. Not even willing to let Travi save anything into the next. They're going to go straight hard for this. That has thrown me off. And is Pink going to be able to get there? Pulling out the Glock and can't get the bullets through the pillar. Travi's able to retain it. I think even they got thrown off by the text chat. Either way, 9-1 is the score line as we move forward. The Wolfhounds have another gun round, but it remains yet to be seen if they can do anything with it.
Yeah. For me, the big thing is Travi is still alive. They're in a position where they can buy utility for the rest of the team. They don't have to buy a gun. They don't have to buy any armor. Realistically, they're in a spot where they can do a lot more good than bad just by helping out staying alive. Exploding onto that A site is going to be MA being taken away. Shift will find Joey, but the plan will still yet again go down. SEA Dragons, they're flying their way to victory at this moment, and it feels like Wolfhounds are starting to let it slip away. They haven't been able to find anything by hook or by crook. The smoke grenades go down, a possible retake comes through, but they're taking one-on-one engagements alone. And with Pink and Jesse, they're just able to win those out. They just played together, and it feels like a broken record here as I say they pick up another round.
Yeah, you could see a couple of players on the SEA Dragons were, quite low at the end of there. So Wolfhounds, they are fighting into things. They're just not able to get the crucial kills at the crucial moments, and that's their downfall at this stage. They probably haven't got the perfect utility, but they can hit hard. It's just a matter of connecting those final few bullets and trying to get themselves into slightly better positioning to work together, and they might be able to bring some rounds across the line before it's too late.
Yeah, again they explode onto A site, trying to catch a player jumping. Cold Waffles will take enough damage from the AK that falling will kill them. That's a heartbreaking way to go, especially when I believe they brought up an ult again. Once again, the plank goes down. No real presence over towards the B side, but SEA Dragons have got this down to an R. They don't need to do exactly that. Another retake has to come through. MA will pick up this round. It's the last round of the CT side. They need to pick this up if they want to have any hope of getting any momentum on their T side. And now with MA going in for a kill, Moshi goes up the vent. They kind of get picked off by Jesse, who gets one, swings for the other, and closes down that half. 4 players of the SEA Dragons on 1k of damage, whereas not a single player on the Wolfhounds has been able to. MA, however, been able to at least break even with some of those kills. But that's what worries me, is the rest of the Wolfhounds haven't really been able to find their feet with it. They've not been able to really get the ball rolling, I want to say.
Yeah, there was some glimmers of hope at the start. They were able to pick up that first gun round, but once they faltered, even just a bit, you give them an inch, the SEA Dragons are going to take a mile, and that's exactly what they did. Took advantage, struck whilst they had the opportunity, and just kind of ran away with things from there. But this is the reset opportunity. This is where the Wolfhounds can come back into things, but it's not the best of start. Pink will start things off, and Zyrex tunes in. It's a full rotation, and then the T's are just getting rounded up like fish in a barrel. Cold Waffles even can't do anything after that initial kill on the flank, and that's just domination towards the ramp.
You see, my big worry here as we find ourselves on match point is that Wolfhounds need to change things up very fast if it's not beyond them already. They're on their T side. They have to win another 11 rounds, I believe. That's a big ask. That's a really big ask.
Yeah, if I'm the Wolfhounds, I'm not even thinking about that at this point. I just want to get a few rounds on the board to build up some confidence, warm into the match a little bit. You might be a bit cold coming into things, maybe you didn't have time to warm up, and so you at least want to try and get some opportunity to warm up into things and see if you can push things a bit further, make it respectable. This is one of the final few chances for them to do so. They are being cut down towards the outside, but the trades are, well, they were going in their favour until Zyrex comes around the corner. Jessie will close things out, and it is going to be a 13-1 victory very quick for the SEA Dragons, and it's not going to be that crucial 13-0 that they've pretty much had for the entire season. So Wolfhounds, there's some bright sides to look at. It's not a 13-0, and, as you move forward, I think this is one of those games where you just kind of turn your brain off from it and say, okay, whatever happened. We can just write that one off completely and just focus on towards the next map, which is, I think, going to be their map pick.
It is their map pick. That's going to be Mirage, and that is going to be joining us after the break. It feels weird to be saying we're going to have a break very quickly, but you can tell the Nuke Any% speedrun's gone pretty well for the SEA Dragons so far, bringing that domination, bringing that confidence like you expected. Can they do it on Mirage once we find ourselves on the Wolfhounds map, pick the map where they're comfortable now that they've had a bit of time to warm up? Well, we're only going to find out one way, and that's after this break.
And just like that, the break is over. Just as quick as the map, it felt like. That went by in such a flash. And now as we move towards Mirage, you've got to be thinking, are the SEA Dragons going to complete this with a 13-0 victory?
You're feeling confident if you are the SEA Dragons. The 13-1, very dominant start. It's on their map pick, and they're able to do it on the kind of, the T side, which isn't that favoured side, like you've explained. So realistically, they're going to be feeling that momentum. They're going to be wanting to kind of close it down as quickly as possible. They don't want to see Dust 2. But for the side of the Wolfhounds, this is where they can start to shift that mentality. It's a best of 3. That wasn't their map pick. Alright, that game doesn't exist. You're going to play Mirage. You know how to do it. It's your choice. You don't have that side starting pick, but if you pick at a map, you should know how to take it on that less favoured site. So they're going to feel confident. They're going to say, this is our moment. Now we really start to rev up the engines, and then we can find ourselves on, hopefully, Dust 2 a little bit later, because I'd like to see a third map. I haven't actually seen the third map, which casted for the Well at the moment in Season 9, so I would very much like to see one. Mirage, what are your thoughts? What are you kind of expecting for this?
You know, I think for the Wolfhounds, especially coming into that T side that you expectedly start from, I really want to see them have some good executes. You know, whilst utility is very important for Nuke, when you're not your map pick, you know, your expectations are going to be limited, if I get my words right. But for Mirage, you know, it has those bog standard utility bits that everyone should know. And if they're able to get some, you know, executes down and at least get some site control, give themselves some confidence that the SEA Dragons are oozing, then they should be able to come back into things. But if they're just going to go out and default every round, you know, make things easy, take those one-on-one fights, then the SEA Dragons will probably look to mop them up fairly quickly. So it really depends on how structured and how coordinated the Wolfhounds are in their own map pick.
I feel like if we can see the Wolfhounds get a couple of rounds to start things off, especially after this pistol round, then I feel like we can start to see them get that confidence and they get a bit more money to work with, they get their weapons. We didn't really see much from the rifle, from the sniper, from the AWP. I want to see that have a little bit more impact, even if it is just getting more shots off but not landing them. We didn't see much impact from that high impact weapon that if you're investing that much money for it, Jamie, you need to get something out of it. That just didn't happen on Nuke. On Mirage, it feels like a map that's not as close range in some areas. You know, you're thinking about Palace, you're thinking about Mid or Apps even. Those are where you really want to get that high impact out of the AWP, and then that's where you start getting the money with. If Wolfhounds could get that momentum rolling, they could get a couple of rounds under their belt, they can give themselves what feels like a bit of breathing room after that Nuke game, then I feel like they're going to do a lot better. They might be able to bring it a lot closer than what we expected. But again, it does come down to basics. It comes down to how they're taking these gunfights together. If they're peaking one at a time, while maybe not millisecond perfect, they were close, but they were still giving SEA Dragons one-on-one gunfights that they could win quite confidently, especially when they had that weapon advantage over them. I need to see stuff like that start to get ironed out, and this is the map to do it. They should be able to have their preset kind of strategies. They should be drilled on it. They should know, right, 3, 2, 1s. They've got to be there. If they're not, they might just be running straight into the SE Dragons' hands and very welcoming guns. So hopefully they're able to change that up. I feel like that's the big thing for them.
Yeah, definitely. It's about, you know, making your mark on the game, flipping the scripts from what we've seen, and just kind of showing that you have a game plan, you have something to bring to the server, to force the SEA Dragons to respect you. Because, you know, with how much confidence they've had for multiple seasons at this point, they will not respect you. If you're going to give them space, you know, you might see players push towards B apps, and if you don't have a strong lurker there, or at least some game plan for how to tackle those aggressions, then you will be caught off guard. I think, you know, Mirage, it's been one of the longest maps in the map pool. It's been in every single major. And so you've seen the meta for it develop and change and, you know, form over the years. And whilst we are in a kind of default heavy meta, I do think, you know, we're going to see some more of those executes start to creep back in, especially, you know, in those situations where you maybe don't have all the rifles, or, you know, you're struggling to get into the map, and if you can just throw those 3 smokes onto a site and get a bomb down, that at least kind of gets your foot in the door and gives you an opportunity moving forward. So, you know, I think that Wolfhounds, if they can start to do some of those things, if they can kind of shrug off that nuke and move forward with a clear head, then they should be able to come back into this. But the SEA Dragons, I just want to applaud them for, you know, how well they've played for multiple seasons at this point, and continue to encourage them to progress. Because, you know, when you have been so dominant for so many seasons, it can be easy to kind of rest on your laurels, take things easy, and not, you know, continue to develop. And that's when the other teams will catch up, or, you know, a new team joins who is, you know, just as competent, and that's where you get caught off guard. So SEA Dragons, you know, they've been really impressive so far. I want to continue to see them work and grow, and, you know, maybe even push things, you know, outside of well. You know, there are many leagues and you know, systems of progression going on for these teams. And so, yeah, I just want to continue to see these teams grow and work and see how far they can really push things.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I feel like, though, with Wolfhounds, I don't want to talk so bad on them, especially when you're only one map in and it wasn't their map choice. I feel like there is still positive to take from that nuke map. I mean, they were able to get a couple of kills, they were able to pick up a round, and start to kind of find a few things that went their way. Not many, but they did. Some things did go their way. I mean, they brought it down to a 1vx a couple of times. I feel like coming down when they're moving forward, I feel like there are simple things that they could just iron out, and then they can have a much better progression in these rounds. They could find themselves pick up quite a few more. I think micro positioning, how they deal with things when things go wrong, that's something I say a lot, because it's something a lot of teams don't think about. They'll have the strat, they'll have the game plan in mind, but then when the first thing happens, they lose that entry, they lose that first player, they don't really know how to respond to that. They don't know how to kind of react, and then how to make the best out of that bad situation. I mean, yes, sometimes you will see some players going for a save, or they'll just try something and prod, but realistically, it needs to be happening a lot more. It needs to be something that they're a lot more comfortable with, because I don't get that feeling from them. But if they could get that, and they could get that positioning and the timings down, I feel like they've got a lot of potential moving forward. Even if they don't win this game, they might be able to find themselves in the next grand final, or the grand final after that. And, you know, like I say, we haven't even seen their map pick at the moment. They might bring it right now, and they might really show why they're in that grand final and why they might deserve to win.
Yeah, I think one thing to note as well is coming into the season, you know, you hadn't really seen a lot of stability in these teams, and sometimes that can be good, sometimes that can be bad. You know, we've seen the teams grow over the season, and they have kind of meshed together, and you can see where the cohesion's coming into fruition. But you're definitely starting on the back foot when you're resetting every single season, and you're having to kind of relearn things, teach things to other people. Whereas if you're able to kind of keep a stable squad together and have that motivation to improve together, then the Wolfhounds definitely can come into things, you know, learn extra bits of utility, push each other to do some aim training, and kind of progress as a team. And, you know, if they're able to continue and maintain that stability, then we should be able to see them get better and probably push the SEA Dragons a lot more. But here we go, it's their map pick. We'll see how they perform. The SEA Dragons starting on the CT side. Kit and Smoke purchased up, so SEA Dragons trying to cover all their bases. Wolfhounds, they will buy a fair bit of utility, and that's something else that I like about this Wolfhound squad. They're not afraid to buy utility to get themselves into a good spot.
I feel like that's something they need as well, especially with, we saw how the SEA Dragons can be with that USP. They can really pick heads apart, but getting close with that Glock with the utility, that can really open a round. Doesn't seem like that's going to be the case today, though. Jesse and Joey going to really open things up, and with Rizzy able to find that last kill onto young Travi, they're not able to get that plant down. I would have given them that little bit of money going into the next round, but they did good. They used that utility, like you said. They got onto that point. And while they lost those players, they were taking that map control. They weren't afraid to do it. Yeah, so good to see their confidence isn't completely rocked. SEA Dragon's going to buy full rifles here on the CT side, so hoping to keep things clean. Wolfhounds, just one flash, so it'll be interesting to see where they use it. Oh, look at this aggression. I said if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile, and Rizzy just absolutely giving no chances, although gets caught back. Here's the rotations underneath, and we'll be there in time. Oh, it's just death in middle, and there's going to be a few more players to find, but it will be light work for the SEA Dragons. Pink getting 3, Rizzy and Jesse helping out with 2 of their own. Again, it's a round that you don't really expect to win on the side of Wolfhounds. You know that SEA Dragons can buy at least something. You know that after that round, they're probably going to have at least 1 or 2 rifles, maybe some SMGs. The pistol round was just get it out the way. Just get it out of the way, let them get some economy, let them buy a couple of AKs and grenades, and then they can start to come into this round and hopefully have a bit more control. Again, though, I want to say they need to get close. They need to stop SEA Dragons having this control, because they're so confident. They're just going to push up, and like you see, they've already done that to mid. The fact that they've not seen anyone over towards mid means that there's a player they're going to be looking towards this A side, so they can have Pink ready by jungle, have them ready to get on the ninja stairs, and keep an eye towards Palace. Utility starts to go through, the push will follow. Pink spots the players, doesn't find any shots just yet. But as they drop down, it's going to be down to Joey to help things out. Travi able to find one, the refrag comes out from Moshi, that's good. As Jesse's able to find Cold Waffles, the double peek there will find that player in jungle. And now Rizzy in a 2 versus 2, they're still going to be able to find it. Finding Moshi, finding Shift in a horrible turn of fate with that. They just line up for them. And that is going to be another round for the SEA Dragons, but one that Wolfhounds, I feel they had a lot of momentum with.
Yeah, you could see just how well that utility worked. That flash raining over just caught, I think it was Joey or Jesse, just caught completely lacking, and they had to turn away from everything, lose that fight, and you could see the Wolfhounds, they were getting their foot in the door, but it was just that missed jungle smoke that really let them down, and that's where the SEA Dragons, you know, that's where they come back into things.
Yeah, I feel like that was good because it shows that they know what they're doing. It shows that they've got that coordination. Right now, Joey will be able to find a first pick, takes down Moshi. There is an open cold waffles thanks to those kills that they've got. With that AK at close range, that one-tap damage is lethal. Proof bar comes out from MA. Joey starts to push forward, might just walk into the clutches of cold waffles. Yes, they are. They're not going to find them. They get taken down by the orb and lose that rifle. That's something that one of Wolfhound's can pick up then. That's going to be Shift who does it, but now they're going to look at rotating around. They don't need to commit to this A because that call-out has come through, and SEA Dragons have 3 players already on this site, meaning B is going to be woefully undefended. That rotate again has to come through as the Dragons realise what's happened, and they're going to get taken down by Shift.
Couple more players to find, but look at this space from the Wolfhounds, so keen to move forward and shut down these sightlines. Pink in a good spot, but spotted out. Jesse to help out, and oh, they've just shut things down in middle. 2 more players to find, and it's just going to be a straight trade, but Ma with a MAC-10 and a Dream is left to pick up the pieces of his teammates.
Yeah, but it's not impossible here. The SEA Dragons players, they are apart from each other, and as that rotate will come through from Zerix, it means that MA has the opportunity to take the 1v1s. They're just not going to be able to win it, unfortunately. Will be picked off by Pink, and that's another round. That's a 4th round on the board for the SEA Dragons. They've started to do well, but Wolfhounds again, while they're getting knocked back, they are getting that full loss bonus, and they have earned it, because they have definitely shown a difference in how they play this. They haven't just gone, okay, we're all just going to peek it, see what sticks. They've started pushing, they've started taking control. The coordination is there. It's just these gunfights. The gunfights are letting them down because they're not winning one of them, and then suddenly emboldened, the SEA Dragons are going to go for another. And that means that they are going to find themselves with MAC-10s and AKs pushing apps. The utility from the Dragons will do that little bit of damage, not massive amounts. That's going to be left down to Zerix, finding Travi on the drop. Finds Cold Waffles as they peek again, and with Jesse and Pink both peeking, each finding one for their troubles. It's all down to Moshi. Moshi stuck in apps with that MAC-10. Now left to the situation of they're probably going to have to try and find a refrag, and just something to get them back in it. Rizzy gets picked off. The wallbang is attempted by Pink, but isn't there, and the pistol there from Zerix will find that killer to Moshi.
I like the idea from Wolfhounds. You know, you're trying to bring the aggression again, dictating the pace, and you can kind of catch SEA Dragons off guard in some of those instances, but I think they just got stalled out a little bit too much by that utility, and the fact that they can't get out and take some space just allows the rotations to come through, and that's where things got shut down when Pink arrives with the AWP and the rest of the cavalry can come and save the day. Wolfhounds are going to buy up again though, at least partially, so hoping to do some damage at least.
This screams out as a must-win round to me here. Wolfhounds need to get something on the board because 5 rounds already have fallen to the SEA Dragons, and they're rapidly approaching that danger zone of not being able to break even in the half. And if they do lose this round, well, yes, they have that loss bonus, but it isn't going to carry you all the way. It's not going to let you get that full buy, all that utility they've used so well. And now as util over towards A will come through, the execute will surely follow. Pink realizing, gets that smoke out, gets the flashbang, and as Jesse, Joey each find one of their own, the refrag comes out, Young Travi finds Joey, gets picked off, and Moshi falls as well. Again, a 4 versus 1, Cold Waffles now with the scout left to their lonesome, doesn't even get the shot off. And that's a very strong round from Dragons, maybe returning back to form from Nuke.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it. They're so keen to get on these rotations and get into positioning on time, and they're just there every single moment harassing the Wolfhounds on the executes. I think the Wolfhounds, they're starting to look like they're a bit shell-shocked. They're starting to look like they've lost some of their own confidence, especially when you see players kind of tucking in towards Tetris, just almost cowering, I want to say, without being too mean. So I need the Wolfhounds to kind of just maintain their aggression, maintain their team play, and just not be willing to let the SEA Dragons run all over them. But Pink and Rizzy are just running up middle, and they're doing so much damage. The fights are going to go all in their direction. It's coming at Millhouse, and the SEA Dragons are going to put 7 on the board just so quickly.
Why is Rizzy allowed to walk up with a pistol and find those headshots? I don't understand that.
Oh, man.
Looking at this scoreboard, it's starting to tell a bit of a story for me. Again, Jesse is doing the lead work on that side of SEA Dragons, but it's a lot more balanced. You've got Rizzy and Pink both leading it up from behind, just backing them up quite a bit. Whereas the Wolfhounds, they're all struggling to hit at least 5 kills. They're struggling to find that groove, and they're starting to they're starting to get out of that area where I think it's not a warm-up. That's what's starting to worry me. as they've died every single round. All of them have died every single round so far on Mirage. That starts to worry me because SEA Dragons, you know they're hungry for kills. They don't want to give any ground. They want to take a mile because they've given an inch. They've been given an inch, they want to take a mile. Hell, they want to take 2. Young Travi, though, will find Rizzy, finds the opening pick in favour of the Wolfhounds. That's a good start, but is it enough?
Yeah, that's a big question. Going to start to take middle off of Rizzy's over-aggression. I don't think they realise how much space they have, but not aware of Joey just lurking over this smoke. Will be spotted out, but wins the engagement either way. B will have a fight as well. And there's so many players over towards this B site, but if the Wolfhounds are just aware of the situation, if they're able to catch people off guard like Joey, then they definitely still have a hope in this.
Exactly. Shift able to find Jesse, brings us down to a 2 versus 3 in favour of the Wolfhounds. They can rotate now. They can start to look at maybe going for a plant on towards A. Xerix has to rotate around, will get the information on the jungle player, but it's Xerix who has to push. Cold Waffles doesn't have to get aggressive. Looking towards a window, aware of that jump, but it won't find the pick. The flashbang won't find its mark because they're already dead. And then Shift finds one on connector. They look for Xerix as well. 22 HP in a 1 versus 1. The plant already down and the smoke is down to favour Moshi. They have the time, they have the positioning, and they know again that Xerix has to come to them. The Mac 10 at that close range can really have a massive impact, but it's not going to happen. Xerix finds an 8th round on the board. Will find 3 kills to actually bring back a good round from the Wolfhounds. They really had something there that could have come with a win.
Yeah, that was one of the best opportunities of the entire series for the Wolfhounds to get back into things. Moshi just not able to react in time with both players being so low. It was really just a reaction game at that point, swinging around the corner. Unfortunate, Xerix will pick things up. And the SEA Dragons, they're just looking so formidable. But the Wolfhounds, they're showing they've got some fight in this. They just need to bring it over the line a couple times and, you know, build back things.
Yeah, I think for Moshi it was a reaction game there, but for Jesse... sorry, not that. Xerix, it wasn't. Xerix could kind of work out that they're not going to be there anymore. Regardless, so I'm not going to talk about that round. I'm going to talk about this one with Young Travi finding Rizzy again as an opener. The AWP is there to try and find an answer. Young Travi will get taken down, but so will Jesse. Such low HP. But with Moshi and MA to fall again, it looks like the Wolfhounds are going to have to back things up. The frag grenade will be in the hands of Shift, who will get taken down. Now an AWP versus AWP. Cold Waffles stuck alone. Will be Molotoved out in that doorway. They know that there's a player going to be nearby. Now they know where they are. And that bomb being on the ground means that Joey can just walk up, find a kill. Good positioning. I like that because it means SEA Dragons weren't getting complacent while they had Joey with that rotate.
Yeah, and again, the Wolfhounds, you know, they're fighting into things. They were getting the trades caught. You know, the SEA Dragons a bit out of position in a few instances, but just a few bits of utility, a few errant bullets that could have gone in the direction to swing the tides. But in the end, the SEA Dragons stabilized just as always. It seems like we're reading off the same script for every round, but it's going to be a bit different here. There's 2 AWPs for the SEA Dragons, and you know that could be their downfall.
Maybe it does mean that they don't have rifles, they don't have that rate of fire, so if they don't land that first shot, it could be all important. Young Travi has a kill, but not reflected across the rest of the team as you find Cold Waffles and Shift going down. And now the 2 warps and 1 rifle have to go up against 3 rifles. Not really committed to where they want to go. The bomb goes down in underpass as Moshi gets knocked off. And now Jesse, with that deagle, will be looking for a kill towards Tetris. Doesn't get to Young Travi, and neither will Pink. We find ourselves in a 1 versus 2 yet again.
It's the 2 that you want for the Wolfhounds. Young Travi and Mar, star players from Nuke, tried to double swing, but barely going to work out in their favour. Mar will close things out, pick up the AWP, and that is an ever so important round. Now the big question is, can they string 2 together?
So now that they've won it as well, that loss bonus is going to get taken a little bit down because that means, well, they've won a round. They don't need that bonus as much anymore because they've got that warp. The big thing is, though, if they can't ride off this momentum, Jammer, they're going to find themselves in that same position as before. They need the next couple of rounds. They need to have at least 3 rounds when they go into that split if they really want to feel confident going on to the CT side, which I know, like you said, is kind of the preferred site, isn't it, for Mirage?
Yeah, Mirage is pretty 50-50, but the way the SEA Dragons play, it seems like they've got 2 T sides, honestly. Wolfhounds will go a man down at the start, and it's not the best position to be in, but, you know, on the T side, you can definitely make things work, especially if you're able to catch Rizzy off guard. With his over-aggressions Shift, though, that's not a kill that you can afford to lose. And with Rizzy getting so much map control, you can kind of see the SEA Dragons cordoning the players in to the kill zone.
Yeah, and that kill zone at the moment is a ramp. Young Travi will fall, but so will Joey. And now Pink will find themselves in a 3 versus 2 alongside Zerix and Jesse overalls at A site. MA doesn't really have anywhere to go. Moshi will be picked off as well, and now it's all down to MA in a 1 versus 3. Up against an AWP, up against 2 rifles, and 3 players that are all very confident in themselves. So MA, sitting back with the AK, has the molly in hand. They can only decide to use it in one location, and it isn't permanent. It's also not a wall, but with the pre-fire coming through the smoke, it gives them an opportunity that Zerix is happy to shut down. Just letting SEA Dragons start to circle like sharks at that point. As we find ourselves on the last round, of this first half. SEA Dragons, like you said, this is how they play the defense, aggressive. I'm terrified for their T side.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't be, honestly, at this point? Wolfhound's final chance, final opportunity to best their score on Nuke, and they don't have the best advice to do it, but anything can happen in CS. Gearing up for a middle play, Pink's going to go aggressive, and we've seen them do so much damage. Misses the first shot, though, and so the rest of the players will flood out. There's so many opportunities, the flashes are good, and Jesse and Pink are going to combine for some kills. Not afraid to fight, and they're just shutting things down. It's just going to be Mar and Cold Waffles in towards top mid, but the flank coming in from Rizzy should shut things down. It's just Mar left alive, and as we've said so many times before, the SEA Dragons overwhelm the Wolfhounds 11-1 for the first half, and it seems like we're repeating what's occurred on Nuke.
Yeah, good gunfights come out from the Wolfhounds. It feels like they really start to find their flow, especially in the last couple of 5 rounds that we've seen. But it hasn't been enough because the numbers game, the economy, it was all in the SEA Dragons' favour. They were very confident, they were very comfortable with what they were doing. Now, as we go on to the T side, I'm expecting SEA Dragons to be just as confident as they were on Nuke, just as aggressive, and most importantly, just as in your face. Whereas Wolfhounds, they have a difference now. This is their map pick. They're going to be on the CT side. They can let the T's come to them. They don't have to go aggressive. They don't have to run into the kill boxes. That's down to Rizzy and Jesse getting picked off the gate very quickly. And while Cold Waffles will answer, that's still a player deficit as they push through. The Palace player will be looking for a kill. Joey will find Moshi, but Shift has Zerix. Joey's able to find another one, takes down MA. And now the T side in a 1 versus 2. They look like they have control of the site. And yes, they do. SEA Dragons find themselves on match and grand final point.
Yep, it's, it looked like the Wolfhounds could come into things really good nade damage to start things off, but the SEA Dragons so patient behind that utility, just win their gunfights, and that's been the story of the entire season. So nice try again from the Wolfhounds. They will have to buy up into, well, for the rest of the game, just to keep their hopes alive, their chances alive. The SEA Dragons, though, looking to end things on a quick B rush.
Yep, they lost the pistol round, which means that they are going to really struggle. They've got the MAC-10, the MP7 and the Deagle, so these heavy-hitting weapons that you don't want to pick ideally, but you kind of have to. Whereas the SEA Dragons, like you say, pushing in. Zerix will be able to find one, goes to Kitchen to find a second. They can taste the victory, and they want it all. Jesse's trying to find a shot with a sawn-off. Isn't going to find it. It's going to be Zerix getting a third. Rizzy finds another in a second. And that is going to be SEA Dragons shutting it down. They won the pistol round, and that was really all they needed in that second half, Jammer. A 13-1 victory, which means they are going to find themselves duplicating their scoreline from Nuke and winning that grand final today.
Yeah, really well done from the SEA Dragons. You know, we've seen them perform so well across a couple of seasons now, and I think, you know, it's just commendations again for keeping up their form. It's really easy to kind of win a couple of seasons and just kind of say, oh, it's not worth it, or I'm not going to bother. You know, you've seen them have some fun with it in some games, but really well done from the SEA Dragons to continue their good form, to continue progressing and working on things, and just big congratulations to them as they lift another Welsh Esports League Season 9 trophy. So I'm not sure what that's going to do to the club standings. I haven't actually kept too much of a close eye on that. If you have any insider info, Muhcreedy. But yeah, I think the SEA Dragons, they have shown that they've kind of just put on a dynasty, and I think the big question again is going to be, when will it end? Because it's not this season, and it doesn't look like it's going to be next season either.
Oh, I know, it's very confident, very dominant, and I do believe, and this is the stats before the Rainbow Six Siege game, where the Wolfhounds were actually in the lead for the club standing. They had 16 points, but as a result of getting to the final, they're guaranteed at least 2 points. They've got 2 points because they lost, which puts them to 18. But SEA Dragons, they were in the Rainbow Six Siege East final yesterday, which meant they had 2 points, pushing them from 14 to 16. And winning this gets them that 18 points, which I do believe does put them in the lead. I will be corrected very quickly if I'm wrong. But that is just being verified at this moment. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how that stands out, because if that is how SEA Dragons have managed to cinch it, that's going to be very, very incredible. And what a way to finish it as well. The 2-0 through the whole bracket for both teams. It had to be ended by one of them, and SEA Dragons very confidently done it. And they're going to be coming back for Welsh Season 10, I'm pretty certain, because they're going to want to continue that. They're going to want to keep those bragging rights, keep that confidence, and keep that performance going. As they have won that CS2, well, why not win another one, because they might as well. Whereas I do want to see the Wolfhounds come back. I feel like there's a lot of potential for them. They really could make this work. But that is it, yeah, the confirmation. The Sea Dragons are going to be coming up with Club of the Season. So with that victory, will find themselves going above the Pit Ponies and the Wolfhounds, who find themselves in second and third respectively. Congratulations to all three teams, though. It's really been a slog to get to this point, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has. It's not been the longest season that we've had for the league, but it's definitely been one where you can kind of see, some of the teams, they've kind of grown into things, and some of them have waned away, just not able to sustain themselves over the season. So unfortunate to see that in some instances. I think, again, just got to commend both of these teams, for being able to put on a performance each week, battle it out every week. And these are the two best teams in the league, and the Sea Dragons, they are a formidable force at the very top of it.
Exactly. It just kind of bring it into context, because I've got a little bit of it wrong there. Sea Dragons definitely have won Club of the Season. They've come first with 19 points, but there's only 1 point between the top 3 teams. SEA Dragons have 19 points. The Pit Ponies and Wolfhounds are joint second on 18 points. That is so close, especially when you get to the point where we're at. We've had multiple games, multiple results. These three teams to find themselves within 1 point of each other is so exciting to see. It may not have been a competitive game on CS2 today, but when we look across the board, it's been very, very close. I'm very happy to have you join me here today, Jammer, and I do want to say thank you for having me with the CS2 side of things. But that is, well, Season 9 complete, isn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's going to be an ending to things, at least for Season 9. We will be gearing up for Season 10 just before you know it, though. It seems like time is going quicker as every day passes, but for now, just got to congratulate the SEA Dragons for coming out on top for both CS and the club standings. Really big congratulations to them. Again, just a reminder for you guys at home, that the entire system, the entire reason this is all able to work is because of your community involvement and the people behind the scenes putting things together. So big thanks to everyone that gets involved, everyone that's involved with putting this together. And a lot of work goes on behind the scenes. So just keep on being engaged with it, get people involved with it, and that's really what makes this thing great. It's just the fact that we are a grassroots kind of initiative, and we are putting together different things. So even if CS isn't your bag, you've got so many different other games to get involved with. So that's the key thing, just stay involved.
And make sure you stay in the loop. The Twitter and Discord information will be in on the Twitch stream, so make sure you get involved. If you do decide you want to play, you want to talk to people, you just want to hang out, that's something you can do. There's something for everyone, really, and I do recommend it as much as I can at any point I can. A huge shout out for you to joining me, Jammer, as the start and the end of the CS2 season, and a shout out to Kashi, making it look amazing, Slide John and Skip first for making sure everything's running smoothly, and ZGAL Gaming for observing and making sure that they could catch the action in front of you and make sure it shows on your screen beautifully. I'm Muhcreedy. Jammer, thank you for having us, and most importantly, good night.